Moving from the MAC to the ACC, we have Boston College at Pitt. Pitt is a 3-point home favorite. This game carries an over-under 47 points. That 3 is new. A little peek behind the curtain. We're recording this on Tuesday night. It was 2.5 pretty much for the better part of the day and yesterday, and now it's finally hit 3, point total 47. So it kicks off Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN's main network. This is just the 4th time that these teams are playing since they both joined the ACC. As we know, they were formerly in the Big East, so it's not their 4th meeting of all time, but since they joined the ACC. But interestingly, though, this is a protected rivalry going forward. I know that they have to give Boston College their protected rivals and Pitt their protected rivals, but this one was a little interesting to me considering they don't have a ton of history, modern history in the ACC. Boston College did open up a 1.5-point favorite, but that flipped pretty quickly, and now it has climbed to as high as we've seen, its highest point at -3 in favor of Pitt. Pitt may be the most disappointing team in the ACC, maybe the country. There were some pretty high expectations for this team, and now here they are at 2-8. They're not just disappointing, they're bad, flat out bad. The Phil Dracovic experiment didn't work. He's now playing tight end for them. They're 129th in points per drive. I couldn't have seen that coming considering they hired, just kidding. They hired Frank Signetti. I called this in the preseason. I blasted, what the hell are we doing, guys? Boston College was 123rd in points per drive last year. I don't know what they were doing bringing it back. Again, we were just talking about maybe as a little shadow puppet for Pat Narduzzi. Somebody's not going to talk back to him, and he hasn't. 129, not great. Kelly, they haven't even scored 14 points in any of their last 3 games, although that does come against Notre Dame, Florida State, and then Syracuse. They've scored they scored more than 21, just once outside of I have the term outlier on here, win. It was a 38-21 win against Louisville. We did highlight on here that's a great letdown spot for the Cardinals. Turned out to be more than that. Their only loss in the season. The defense on the other side for the Panthers, they're just not good enough to make up the difference. They're down from 22nd in points per drive allowed to 64th. So from what I would consider top tier to very middle tier of the pack. On the other side, Boston College, like I mentioned, they were 123rd in points per drive under Frank Signetti. They get rid of him. Now they're up to 54th in points per drive. And a lot of that can be attributed to their quarterback, Thomas Castellanos. He's been fun at times, pretty decent dual threat guy, but the wide receivers aren't helping him very much. He has the 3rd highest drop rate in the FBS, although it is marginally getting better. They've gone from 6 drops, 5 drops, 0 drops, 4 drops to about 2-1 every game. So it's not perfect, but it is getting a little bit better. Outside of the Louisville game, Boston College has done a really nice job keeping Castellanos protected as well. He doesn't take a lot of hits or sacks or pressures, although he did have 20. It's very funny to go look at his pressures because they're all very single digits, and then against Louisville, he had 21 pressures and 5 sacks, but that's besides the point. Wide receiver Ryan O'Keefe, he's confirmed to be out for the season. He had a pretty scary injury, had to go to the hospital, was released later on, but he will not play. Although they do return running back Kai Robichaud. Pat Garwo, the other running back, he's out for the season. But Robichaud had 20 or more carries in every game without Garwo, that going back to week 7. Looking at season-long metrics, Pitt's 25th in rushing success rate allowed. So when I first saw it, I was like, wow, they're doing a lot better against the run than I thought. Well, when you dive into the numbers, this is why season-long metrics are a little bit misleading. Syracuse just rushed for 154 yards on them with a tight end, who then ended up winning the running back of the week in the ACC or something like that. It was a great performance by him, but if you look back further, in games where they're not vastly out-talented, I went back to the Wake Forest game, Damon Claiborne rushed for 7 to carry on them as well. So this is not, I think this is a rush defense that's a lot worse than maybe the season-long metrics let on.
Yeah, Brett, you said at the beginning Pitt might be the most disappointing team in the country. I have a list for that, and my numbers do agree. Panthers currently ranked number 1 on my list of underachievers in 2023 with 3.6 fewer wins than projected by my preseason realistic expectations at this point in the season. It's really hard to believe, Brett, that this program won the ACC just 2 years ago. I mean, 2 years ago they were lifting a trophy in Charlotte, and now here we are. I don't know if they'll win another ACC game outside of potentially against a team playing in the championship game. As you mentioned, that outlier result against Louisville. Pitt's power rating has fallen to a season worst number 72, due primarily to the offense, which, as you mentioned, has topped 21 points only twice this year against FBS opponents. They've now fallen to a season worst number 100 this week, Brett. So I built it all up. Pitt's not very good. They're having a bad year. All that said, the model still has Pitt -5 in this game. So you said it open. BC is a favorite. Now it's up to Pitt -3. My model's been at Pitt -5. I think it's trending in the right direction with that line in Vegas. It's a 64% win expectancy for Pitt in this one. There is reason for optimism for Pitt here, as Boston College's defense is only power ranked number 86. That makes it the weakest opposing FBS defense the Panther offense will face all season. In the preseason, my numbers suggested that Boston College had the easiest overall schedule of any Power 5 team. They assigned the Eagles a 47% chance to go bowling. Well, Boston College took advantage of that, Brett. They reached the 6-win mark with 3 games to spare, no less. It's undoubtedly been a super successful season as the Eagles are going bowling for their first time since 2019. But with a power rating rank in the 80s and both units, offense and defense, ranked 70 or worse, there is still room for improvement in Chestnut Hill. This should be a good test for this team this week. But bottom line, I have Pitt -5. It's a 64% chance that the Panthers earn their first victory in this series since 2014. But Brett, as you said, they've only played twice since that time, so it's not like they're playing every single year. I was a little bit surprised, too, that it was a protected rivalry. We've seen it. Not every team has to have equal numbers of those. Not every team has to have one. I don't believe Penn State in the new look Big Ten has a protected rival, if I'm not mistaken. So wouldn't have been surprised to not see that, but given the options, I can understand why with their Big East ties previously.
I think the ACC has an even 2 protected rivals.
Do they?
If I just off the top of my head, people are going to fact check me on that. But either way, outside of the Northern Illinois game in week 1, Boston College has really just beaten the teams that they should and lost to the teams that they shouldn't beat. And Pitt, honestly, in my estimation, I think this is a team Boston College should beat. Virginia Tech, that result, I think, skewed this line a bit. But, hey, Virginia Tech's playing pretty darn good football lately, so I'm not really knocking them for that as much as I think the market is. Kelly, I'm going to be honest. I don't love fading the market, especially when it steams this much. I don't love fading your numbers, but this is a play on Boston College for me. I think I'm going to take them at 3 or better. I even think they're live to win this game. If you're putting together maybe an underdog round robin, if you're looking for a contrarian pick in an office pool pick'em, Boston College I think is not the worst pick. This is Boston College +3 for me or better.
Pitt has one FBS win, man, all year. Granted, it's a good one, but they have one. Like, I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you at all.
That's the problem, though, is when we get into these. I know. We've both seen this so many times. It's over and over again, multiple times a season, that when you look at a line, you're just like, I just don't quite understand that. This team is clearly worse than this team, and then there's something to it. So I say it with trepidation, but I still like Boston College with the points here in this game. And again, I think they're live to win.